New tonight, Call 6 Investigates uncovers criminals getting away without paying hundreds of millions of dollars to their victims.
Yeah, those victims say they thought the justice system would make them whole again, but instead, it was just empty promises. You'll want to pay attention to this story, as this could very well happen to you. Call 6 Investigates' Kara Kenny has been digging into this issue and is working to find out how you can improve your chances of getting money.
Judges often order criminals to pay their victims. It's called restitution. Victims say they thought it would help them heal, but instead they felt victimized all over again.
Scott Evans runs an audiovisual production company. Back when Indy hosted the Super Bowl, Evans worked with party planner Howard Jaffe.
He walks in and hands us a check for $50,000. Tried processing it 3 times and just kept coming back as no funds.
Prosecutors charged Jaffe with check fraud, and as part of his 2014 sentence, a judge ordered Jaffe to pay $50,000 in restitution to his victim, Scott Evans. Scott says it was just an empty promise. 4 years later, he's still waiting for his money back.
That's our entire payroll for a week.
So you'd like to see that money?
Hell yeah.
Call 6 Investigates did some checking and found when offenders reach the end of their probation without paying restitution, the courts just convert it to a civil judgment. That means Scott has to hire a lawyer to go after that $50,000.
So what does that say to you?
System's broke. It doesn't work.
We suspected Scott Evans is not alone in waiting for compensation. So we asked the Marion County Prosecutor's Office, Clerk's Office, and Probation for numbers on how much restitution is ordered and collected. But none of those agencies could tell us. So we asked the Indiana Office of Court Services to run a report, and the numbers they gave us are staggering. Over the past 20 years, Indiana courts have ordered $580 million in restitution. 80% of it remains unpaid. Records show Marion County alone has more than $95 million in unpaid restitution. Call 6 Investigates took our questions to criminal court judge Mark Stoner.
And what do you say to victims that say it just feels like a hollow promise?
Well, in many respects it is.
Courts order the restitution, and it's up to the probation department to collect it and distribute it to the victim. Probation can use tools like wage garnishment and wage withholding to get money. If a criminal isn't paying, the offender can be called back into court for a hearing. However,
I can't jail you for being poor, but I can jail you if you're not making a good faith effort towards paying that.
Here's the problem. Courts often look at a criminal's income and assets to figure out how much restitution offenders should be paying, but it's largely on the honor system.
People complain that the person that's got a public defender is driving a Lexus. That's one of the huge problems we have with probation, for example, is we don't have the resources to actually be checking on people.
Judge Stoner also explains when a criminal reaches the end of their sentence, a court can't extend it just because the offender hasn't paid their restitution.
The law keeps us from doing that.
Are the courts doing everything they can to get victims their money back?
I'm going to say that we can be better.
As for Scott Evans,
The system failed me.
he has no plans to spend his own money chasing after Howard Jaffe, who served time in Indiana prison for probation violation and now is a wanted fugitive in Florida for grand theft.
He's a con man.
Scott just wants the criminal justice system to get more aggressive about making victims whole again rather than making empty promises.
Now, this is something that could happen to you if you're a victim of a crime. Say you're robbed or you're ripped off by a contractor. Here's how you can protect yourself. Keep all of your documents, receipts, medical expenses. You have to prove to a judge that you were impacted by the crime. Kara Kenny, RTV6.